Hi. Um, First I'll just share in the chat the link to come and join me if you feel for it. If you've got some suffering, something to come and share, you want to do a bit of looking, then just check in the comments, or you can also just copy this link down below, copy and paste, and it will bring you up into the live stream with me. So I don't have anyone for tonight, so I was just going to do a self-inquiry, but I'm really hoping that someone will come and save me tonight. Someone come and join me and look at something, have something that they want to look at. It's a little bit hard at the moment. There's been quite a strong event or situation that's happened over the weekend, and it's the primary thing I want to take a look at, but I'm not really able to share it at this point because it's still ongoing, and it's taking up quite a lot of my attention. And I think about what the cause of the suffering or any suffering I'm having. So, yes, I'm really hoping that someone will come and join me today and have something else that we can look at, because I want to look at this thing, but I can't at the moment. I'm sure in the future it will come. So we'll just give it a little bit longer. I can have a little bit of a think about what I want to do instead. I'm a little bit just looking to see if anyone's actually joined. So I'm talking to myself otherwise. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think we can learn a lot from it, actually. Okay, but I don't know, maybe this is just going to be a short one today. But I think what I'll do is just start with a little bit of a rest, a little bit of a meditation, just to come into the body and see what's here. And this is a good way to start an inquiry if you're a little bit stuck in the mind, or you're not entirely sure what's here, or even if you feel a bit overwhelmed by what's going on, you can just do you can follow along with a little rest. And the purpose of this is just to expand the attention. So to notice what else is here with the thought and the sensation in the body. And I like to use a bit of a Vipassana sort of technique. But it starts out like this, or it will start out like this today. And just take a little bit of time to get comfortable, and a little bit of a feeling into the body, a feeling of sitting, a feeling of the feet on the ground. I'm noticing my breath now and breathing. And how often do we go the entire day without noticing our breath or the feeling of our feet on the ground, unless we're in pain And then it poses the question, where's the attention then? And generally it's in the mind, in thinking. So I'm aware of my breath at the moment. I still have a little hope here that someone's going to call in, that I'm going to get a little chime or something from the restream saying that someone's here, but it's just me. Still just me. That's okay. Yeah, so I come back to the feeling of the breath, and it starts in the nose. I feel the nose, sensation of the air in the nose. And if I was like heavily thinking or heavily feeling at the moment, I'm not trying to like purposefully move my attention somewhere else. If anything, I'm expanding my attention to include this sensation, to include the thought, so that I can then include the breath as well. So there's the fixation of suffering is not so strong. Yeah, and then I can feel the air move down into the lungs. And most of the emotional sort of suffering and pain that we feel is in this kind of area, and a little bit the head. So as I'm moving through this body, I'm feeling my lungs. I'm also noticing if there's anything else here, any sort of tension in the body, or any sort of pain, any emotion that's standing out. And I'm just noticing that it's here, acknowledging it and moving through. So now I'm aware of the bottom part of the lungs and the bottom part of the breath. And then, so I bring my attention now down into where I'm sitting, actually. So the feeling of the backside and the legs, the feeling of the feet on the ground. Again, just noticing what's here. Like I notice that, my feet are a little bit sore, actually, especially on one side. And as I notice that, I'm just seeing as well, if is there any stories or meanings or any suffering that's here with that. Any sort of story that I'm making on top of the pain. So I'm just checking. I'm not diving into anything, but just seeing, okay, there's pain there, and there's no resistance to the pain, so there's no suffering. I'm able just to keep my attention there lightly and to feel it. And then I'm moving back up through the body, through the legs, seat again, moving into the feeling of the hands, the feeling of the arms. I'm noticing the shoulders. There's a lot of tension that we hold in the neck generally. Yeah, I don't feel any myself in this moment. I feel a bit of a heavy heart because of this situation. And yeah, I can't really deny it. I mean, I can't talk about it at the moment, but I can't deny that there's not some feeling here. And as I sit with the feeling, yeah, I just see an image in my mind of someone that's connected to the situation, and I feel some sort of empathy and a bit of sadness. So I'm just going to acknowledge that. I notice that the thoughts here. I notice that the feelings here. I notice that there's no movement around it to move away. And then I'm just going to keep moving. So up into the neck now. Shoulders felt fine. Sometimes we keep a lot of stuff in the jaw and the eyes. So I'm feeling up the back of the head. And then I'm feeling into the cheeks. I'm feeling into the jaw. I'm feeling into the eyes, so the muscles around the eyes, the eyeballs themselves. Yeah, okay, and just actually sitting here feeling that, I notice that there's an image that's coming up into my mind about someone. So I'm just acknowledging that. It doesn't seem to mean too much at the moment. There's no suffering in it. Yeah, the primary thing that's going on here is this sort of feeling in the chest. Still it's there. And so, I mean, again, I can't speak about it, but I'm internally letting the narrative start to play. So I'm letting the story that's around the image start playing in my mind. And I mean, there's no real point to do this. You can do it just to explore a little bit. In this moment, there's no real point to it because there's no kind of resistance here. There's no suffering here. It's just I've got this heavy heart. And it's okay that it's here. Okay, so what happens is that heavy heart connects to another image, actually, and it's of another person that's also like another situation that's similar. So I'm just watching that image and I'm noticing how I respond to it. I'm not trying to like control anything here. I'm not trying to push anything away or pull anything close. I'm just being here with what's here. And there's a little sense of sadness. It's here. Yeah, it's interesting in this moment. I don't feel uncomfort. Usually when you're with someone in that kind of space, where you don't really know what to say to someone and maybe they're hurting quite a lot, or, the situation is quite challenging. And I had some of that today where I was, and you just don't know what to say, don't know how to respond, and there's an awkward feeling. And I was aware of that today, and it's interesting to see in this moment that the awkwardness is gone. It's like the shock of it or something. Yeah, it's really interesting. With that awkwardness gone, there seems this presence that's here that can just respond in an appropriate way. So, like these platitudes that we give to people sometimes don't help. Um, yeah, it's interesting. It's quite often the platitudes are about trying to get through the feeling, the awkwardness, or the. It's not the right word, but that platitude that we offer someone is about just moving through that whole situation as quickly as possible. But it doesn't. It's kind of not here at the moment. I feel like I'm just spacious enough, and I can see it. And even though I'm talking about images in my mind at the moment, I don't actually see a difference between like a real life person to person experience and what's going on in my mind. Maybe you can argue that it's okay. It's quite interesting at the moment. It's because there's no suffering here. I'm not suffering because of this situation that's going on in my mind, and actually out in reality as well. But what's coming into my mind is if I had my Quack hat on, I'd be putting it on in this moment, because what's coming in is this is the difference between the reality of the mind and the reality of like the world, and yeah, I think we undervalue what happens in the mind. It's interesting. In some ways, we overvalue it. In some ways, we undervalue it. Sometimes we don't even see like the difference between the reality and the reality of the mind. Like what's coming for me is to have that definition between the two, that if it's light enough, that there's an opportunity of being able to it's definitely a bit quacky. Definitely I need to put my hat on for this one. But it's interesting because it works two ways. When we're having a thought that's causing us suffering about someone else, we see them in our mind. Like if I just pull someone up into my mind, that I've had problems with in the past or something like that, that I've got some feeling towards. And in some way we think that that's real. We think that like the image of this person that I'm seeing in my mind is real. Because the body's responding to it as if it's real. And we're also responding to it. That we're responding to the thought as if it's real. So one of the ways that you can break suffering is by showing like a different perspective on the thought. So if you can see in your mind that the image, say, of this person I'm looking at, it's not actually real. It's just an image in the mind, then that can break the suffering. Because you're seeing that, I'm not suffering because of the person themselves. I'm suffering because of the image of the person that's happening in the mind. But then it can work the other way too, because if you lost someone, you can hold the image of them in the mind, and you can have an interaction as if they're there. It's only the thought that comes in that says that this isn't real or this is real, which holds it all together. I know. I guess like the simplest way to explore this is with the two thoughts. Is what's happening in my mind real, or is what's happening in my mind not real? And sometimes we take it to be real because of what it gives us, and other times we take it to be not real because of what it takes away, maybe. So if I come back to the inquiry, it's like in my mind I can see that I just want to give this person some love, and it allows me to do that in my mind. It's a bit hard to explain. Yeah. So anyway, what happens in my mind is this kind of the love I would offer to this person is given and it's received, and then the image just passes out of the mind, and the sense of heaviness that was here, it's become something else. And then I'm bringing up into my mind other different sort of images. just to test how I feel about them now, how I feel about the images. Um, oh, it's interesting. I can like allowing myself this. mm, investigating this line between the reality of the mind and the reality of the world, and having it so it's not so absolute. um, like it allows a freedom in the mind. So when I close my eyes and I imagine this kind of one of these people, I can have this kind of moment with this person. I see in my mind us bringing our heads together. And I have the moment as if they're there with me. And that the expression of feeling can take place. and and it's a beautiful thing. It doesn't matter. um, it doesn't matter that it's just happening in the mind, and I can't tell whether it's real or not real. I mean, I understand, of course, the idea of the mind not, imagination is imagination. It's built into the word, the meaning that it's not real. But but maybe if I can allow an extra meaning, an extra, like if I can have it both ways, that it's illusion, but it's also real, then that allows me that experience. It allows me to talk to people that I don't, or sort of allows me to finish things if I need to and say things if I need to. And I think some people will understand what I'm talking about. You say if someone dies and you've got the sense of them being with you, the feeling of it, and the thought in the mind. And then probably you've got this really logical, rational people that say, no, it's when people die, they just die and that's it. Um, I don't know. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for this, that I'm not holding it so tight that I can't have this experience in my mind. And I've got friends too that like have lost someone, but they're unable to feel it and experience it as if it's like a real thing. It's one specific person I'm thinking of, and her husband died, and she misses him. She misses his hugs and whatnot, and I don't know what's stopping her. I don't know what. I'm thankful that I can have this image in my mind at the moment. I'm thankful that I can say goodbye in this way. It's a little bit painful, but It's interesting. It sort of falls into, I see the image of myself now. I see the image of myself grieving. It's like the images of different people coming in now, different like people I've had to say goodbye to, and and then the focus becomes the sense of me that's there. And then the thought comes, oh, it's something I have to say goodbye to too at some point. And then the image actually just it fades away really quickly. And I come back to sort of here. Oh, okay, and then what happens is the same sort of feelings that I've been feeling about this situation is coming from myself now. I see myself. I see myself in the same way, and it's like I'm grieving for me now. It's bizarre. Like I've got to say goodbye. I can hear this song playing in the background. One of the biggest revelations I had was when my grandma died, and I remember when I was quite young and I was just crying and crying, and I felt like I was crying for her, and then at some point it just hit me that I'm crying for myself. I'm crying um, because she's not here for me, and and then also I recognized that that her death like made me think about my own death. That at some point I'd have to say goodbye, and that was all tied up into the grief. Okay, and then it's like the clouds just disappear, and and there's a feeling of clarity and relief that's here. And do you know the first thing that comes into my mind too is kind of it's a bit funny to say. It's the truth, I think, but it's a bit funny to say in that we don't know where people go. We don't know. Well, I might have a pretty good guess, I would think. And I'm sure other people think that they've got a pretty good guess as well. But even if it's 99%, there's still a percent that says we don't know. And that's actually relieving. That whatever the people might have gone through to, in their death, that it's finished. Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think I feel pretty good there. Um, I'm sure that I'll have a time in the coming future where I can really get into the story, and I mean, the verbalization of it, I'm sure, is going to provoke something within me, and also the repercussions of the whole situation. But but that feels quite complete, and a bit of waffling in the middle there, I'm sure. But I don't know. Is there any is there any benefit to the thought of the mind being just imagination? I guess sometimes it's of a benefit. Hmm. Okay, well, hey, now's the time. If someone wants to come and join me, now's the time. I'm happy to see if you've got something that we can take a look at together. Um, this link down the bottom here, that's what you want to put into your tab, or you can go over to the chat and I'll just put it here again. You can go over to the chat and click on the link in the chat, and that'll bring you in. Yeah, I feel a bit sorry that it's not going for longer, but I don't feel that great a suffering today. I've been with it the whole day, the whole situation. I've been like right into it, so I don't have the feeling of it. Okay, well, hey, if you're like a bit too afraid to join me today, then that's okay. Send me a message, and I'm happy to go through it with you first, not live, if you want. I'm not sure who's here with me, but if you're a random and I don't know you, then hi. Um, if you're not, then I've got the feeling it's Maria. Hi, mate. I saw you in my mind earlier, so I appreciate you. But if you are a random person that I don't know, then send me a message. You can find the website and the email address in whatever channel you're on, and I'm happy to do something with you off camera if we can do it. Then again, on camera later on, and you know, nothing lasts forever. So the freeness of this and like the availability of this is not going to be here forever. I'm pretty sure at some point there'll be a schedule and it mightn't be so easy to get in, and you might have only one or two or three or four or five people looking. So now's a good time to come and join. But thank you. Thanks for watching. And let's see what happens.